You're listening to the Han Shot First podcast.
Hey guys, so this is going to be the first episode of my new podcast that I've been wanting to start for quite a while now. I've been kind of brainstorming, getting some ideas together. I know I've wanted to do a Star Wars podcast for some time now, as Star Wars is pretty much my main thing, my main squeeze, my main fandom, whatever you want to call it. So I've been dealing with, kind of the format I wanted to do it in. Did I wanted to do video or audio only? What did I want to call it? So I've been kind of working these things out for a little while now, and I just passed 100,000 views on the main YouTube channel, Nerd Frequency. So that seemed kind of like an appropriate milestone to finally get things started and get things rolling. But like I said, this is the first episode, so bear with me as I'm working out the kinks and getting used to going over the show notes and kind of remembering what it is all that I wanted to talk about, since this is a little bit longer than most of the videos that I produce. And I went and dug my Yoda mug out of the cupboard so that I could use it for this podcast. Okay, there we go. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, I fixed the aspect ratio problem, so we should be good to go. So after giving it a lot of thought, the name that I finally have came around to is Han Shot First podcast. And then the tagline, I think, is going to be an unauthorized Star Wars podcast, or something like that. It's still a work in progress, so bear with me. So let's get to it. So first thing we have to talk about is JJ Abrams. He was at an event recently where they were taking questions, I believe, and someone stood up. I believe it was a kid, but can't quite remember. And they asked him who is Rey's parents, and he responded by saying, well, they're not in episode 7. So if you've been on Twitter, you've probably heard something about this, because everyone was flipping out. Oh, they're not in episode 7, so does that mean it can't be Luke or Han or Leia, so she's not a Skywalker? And even I was kind of like, oh man, because I'm kind of hoping that she's a Skywalker in some form or fashion. So he said that they weren't in episode 7, but then I think after the fallout of that, he came out later and said, whoa, let me just clarify. What I meant was that we don't find out who her parents are in episode 7, not that the characters themselves are not in episode 7. And some people will look at this and think that, oh, he's just covering up because he kind of let it slip. But I actually believe him. I think what he meant was, hey, I was working on episode 7, and we don't find out who's Rey's parents are in episode 7, so it's not for me to say, even if I know. But obviously he knows. But I think that was just what he was getting at is, hey, it's not in episode 7. They're not in episode 7, so we're not going to talk about it. I think that was just his nice way of saying, that's not what I'm here to talk about. So I do believe him that it could still definitely be Luke or Leia or Han. It could be her parents, and I'm hoping that she's a Skywalker in some form. But a lot of people were flipping out about that, and then once they were like, okay, well, if she's not a Skywalker because her parents are Luke or Han or Leia, then what about this theory that would make her a Skywalker? So, little spoiler alert here. There was a theory going around that she is Anakin Skywalker, basically sort of reincarnated, and that somewhere in the film you'll get Luke saying, "You are my father." I don't buy that at all. I believe she could be, because the title is The Force Awakens, so I think she definitely could be, sort of the Chosen One 2.0. But two things that kind of throw this theory off. First of all, it would just seem kind of weird. I mean, because you definitely see someone drop her off. So we're led to believe that that's her parents. So she has to have some a parents of some sort. And then, so even if there isn't a father like Anakin, that means she would still have a mother. So, and then what would be her connection to Luke? Because we feel like there at least is some sort of connection, even if it's, just that she was, at his Jedi Academy before the Knights of Ren and Kylo, wrecked everything. So that's my first problem with that theory. And then the other problem I have with that theory is one that I actually heard on another podcast them discussing, and I really agreed with it. Is that if you look at it, basically if she's Anakin 2.0, she would have had to have been born 20 years before the movie, because I think she's 19. So that means between her birth and Return of the Jedi, when Vader dies, when Anakin dies, because he's kind of redeemed himself. Basically, that's only 10 years. So that means that almost every 10 years, the Force is gonna have to reawaken and reincarnate. And I mean, if there's a chosen one every 10 years, then they're really not that special, and it becomes kind of lame. Like, oh, okay, every decade or century or whatever, you have a dozen, chosen ones running around. It makes Anakin's sacrifice and that whole 6 movie arc that we got, it takes away from that if she's just another Anakin, basically, as far as the Force is concerned. So there's a lot of theories out there, a lot of fan speculation, which I enjoy. I love talking about it and seeing which one do we think is up here, which one maybe is crazy, but then maybe that turns out to be true. So that's just fun, as long as it's all in good fun and people don't get upset about it, and nothing too crazy happens. But that is kind of a good segue into the next interview we got, where Oscar Isaac, is it Isaac or Isaacs? I'll have to look that up. Okay, it's Oscar Isaac. Okay, like I thought. Oscar Isaac was being interviewed by the LA Times, and they asked him about Episode 8, and I got his quote here. He said, Rian Johnson is definitely going to places and investigating things that haven't really been done in the Star Wars universe. For me, it's so fun getting to explore different things that I wouldn't have expected in this universe. So that kind of brings me back to what we were just talking about, where if it's things that have never been done before in the universe, not only have we already had sort of an immaculate conception, or whatever you want to call Anakin, fatherless birth was, so that kind of takes away from that theory, as well as, but it also, in a sense, kind of helps that theory also, because he's saying there's some kind of really strange things going on, and Rey not having a father would be pretty strange, I think. So on one hand, I think that Oscar's quote kind of debunks the Rey being the Anakin 2.0 theory, but then in another way, if you read into it, and we've heard this from other people before, that it's a very weird and strange script. That after the after the Force Awakens kind of laid the foundation and hit a lot of the similar beats that we were expecting, I like to think of it as kind of a remix of the original trilogy. So they are willing to take more risks now, so I'm excited about that. So maybe they will do some weird stuff, but I don't know if Rey being reincarnated Anakin or whatever is going to be one of them. But yeah, still very interesting. While we're on the topic of Daisy and who her parents are, she was stopped, I believe, on the red carpet recently, and they asked her, because obviously we got the Rogue One trailer, which was awesome, by the way. I absolutely loved that trailer. But anyway, so Jyn Erso, the main protagonist in that trailer, and obviously going to be in the film, she looks a little bit like Rey. They have similar hair, and facial features. So people were theorizing, obviously, which I think is a little ridiculous to even entertain the idea, but you know how the internet is. People were still thinking this and putting it out there. So they asked her, what about Jen being Rey's mom? And she responded by saying, basically, just because we have brown hair doesn't mean she's my mom. So yeah, she kind of shot down the idea, and I'm glad she did, because that's one of those fan theories that I could see it taking root and people really getting it in their head, like, no, it has to be, she has to be Rey's mom, and then them being disappointed when it turns out she's not. So I'm kind of glad she shot that down. It's not a theory that I think needs to be entertained. Why make the universe small where everyone has to be related? I want her to be a Skywalker, not a Erso or whatever. But yeah, and then she went on to say that she didn't think Rey was a Jedi, or at least not a Jedi yet, because obviously Leia's not really a Jedi, and even Luke, after he got training, Yoda said, or Luke said to Yoda, then I am a Jedi, and Yoda was like, oh, not yet, you still have to face Vader. So if he wasn't a Jedi then Rey, even if she beat Kylo, she's still not a Jedi yet, I don't think. Not in my book, not yet. I think she still has more training to do, definitely. Yeah, so the last bit of news to talk about, I just saw, I believe on Twitter, where over the next 3 months we're going to be getting new Battlefront DLC, but it's going to be for everyone, not just the season pass holders, which is good because I have Battlefront on the PC, but I didn't buy a season pass. I just can't spend $120 on a video game. I mean, it'd have to be amazing, and I've already kind of stopped playing the game. I'll play it like maybe once a week for like 30 minutes. That's about it. It's definitely gotten a little repetitive, which was one of the main complaints when the game first came out, but I digress because I don't want to go down the Battlefront bashing rabbit hole. I'll never get out. Yeah, but anyways, we're going to be getting bug fixes, as well as new hut contracts, weapons, and I think some in-game type events or something like that, it said. Yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. Maybe that'll reinvigorate the game for me a little bit. Yeah, I'm kind of bummed that more people aren't still playing it. Like, that's one of the main reasons why I stopped is, I was enjoying the game, but now that you have the DLC, like the paid DLC out, you kind of split the online user base, which was already tiny, especially on the PC. If you go to a website, I believe it's swbstats.com, it'll show you real time how many people are online on Xbox One, PS4, and PC, and it's amazing. Like the PC right now, I believe if you check, it'll have like maybe 5,000 max at any one time. And then the Xbox One will be, I believe, like 10, 15,000. The PlayStation 4 actually still has like 30, 40,000 people, over the course of a day. But I've seen the PC online stats be as low as like 1,000 before. So that is terrible for a game that hasn't been out that long. So it's really hard to find games, especially for me, because I like to play some of the less popular games, online games, like I believe Blast is where it's basically just team deathmatch. That's my favorite. But I know a lot of people like to play Walker Assault and things like that, which those are fun, but it's just not my favorite. So yeah, I've kind of stopped playing Battlefront, and I don't know. I'm just, like I said, I want to try to avoid the Battlefront bashing, on this first episode. But I'm really disappointed in EA and their stupid DLC. I mean, the fact that I have to pay $110 when it's all said and done to basically get a full game. I mean, you're really only getting half a game when you buy the original. So that's a bummer, and I really am going to try to avoid EA games in the future if I can. That really was the last straw for me. But I am really excited about the Star Wars Lego game that we're getting soon. I believe in June or July is when that comes out. So that's going to be awesome. Super excited about that. The trailer looked awesome that we got for it. And, kind of the rumors floating around about the gameplay all seem pretty cool. Yeah, so I think that'll about do it for the first episode. of Han Shot First, an unauthorized Star Wars podcast. Appreciate you guys watching and bearing with me while I kind of work out the bugs and figure out what I'm doing here on this little podcast. So this is run about 20 minutes. I wouldn't mind in the future episodes going 30, 45 minutes if there's more to talk about. And I've done a little bit more producing, gotten some other topics, and eventually, what I'd really like to do is get one or two guests. Probably will have to be, kind of like a FaceTime, Skype, Google Hangout type thing at first, and then maybe we'll get somebody in here eventually to get a little bit better setup. Yeah. So again, thanks you guys for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this. Comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about the topics we discussed. Who do you think raised parents are? Like I said, I really enjoy all the speculation as long as it's nothing too crazy. If you're joking around, you want to say Jar Jar is Rey's dad, or Jar Jar and Yoda adopted her. That's all good and that's all fun. Just like I said, bounds of reason on the things that you actually are putting out there is actual speculation and not a joke. Because I really don't think Jen is her mom. That just seems ridiculous. But, all right. May the force be with you.